Welcome back to another episode of the Overwatch League Season 4 Offseason Recap. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing all activity that occurred after free agency weekend, starting from Monday, October 26th, until today, Friday, October 30th, at the time that I am recording this, of course. Not that much has occurred this week, showing that a lot of teams are taking their time and are evaluating their options very carefully. If anything were to happen immediately after this upload, I'll be sure to leave a pinned comment about it. Now then, no more wasting time. Let's get down to business. A good place to begin is with the Dallas Fuel. Their big and successful offseason has gotten even better. They filled out a big hole at flex support by acquiring both Fielder and Repel. Dallas just keeps on getting richer, man. These are two wonderful signings. Fielder was easily like an A-tier flex support player last year. He seriously popped off on Paris last year, even with a noticeable ping difference. Paris let this guy walk in free agency, so he was ripe for the taking. A handful of other teams probably really could have used his help as well, but the Fuel did have the advantage in this bidding war. Think about the influence of his former teammates and coach. Sparkle, Hanbin, and Rush are some of the only people Fielder really knows at the Overwatch League level. It would be easy for him to immediately fit in and feel like he belongs somewhere because he has people he's comfortable around already. This seemed like a no-brainer decision for Fielder. He gets to continue his career as a starting player in the Overwatch League, and he gets to do so under a similar system with people he already likes working with. I can't think of a better place for him to go, like really. And if Dallas can get him to their team facility, then the rest of the league better look out. Fielder on normal ping with all this time off to hone his skills and improve sounds absolutely terrifying. Get your popcorn ready because Fielder is looking to come back with a vengeance. Now looking at the Repel pickup, I see this as another quality signing. He might not be Fielder levels of good, but he is by no means an unreliable player. Repel genuinely is talented, and playing under Rush is only going to help him develop. Given how much money Dallas has already spent, you would have to imagine Repel was a relatively inexpensive pickup. He more so signed here for that Element Mystic connection, you would have to imagine. What people often forget is that Repel played on that team for well over a year. I know for a fact that he played with Sparkle, and he does have experience being coached by Rush, I believe. I'm assuming that largely had to do with why he signed. Now, I really can't say for certain how much Repel is going to play. Fielder is a better player in my opinion, but you never know what could happen with team synergy, I suppose. He could still serve as a solid option if Fielder ever wants to take a break. And let's not forget that he would be quite useful in a double flex support meta. Him and Fielder working together sounds pretty good. I could see Repel having a use without a doubt. I'm just not sure how much you'll see him overall. In other Dallas Fuel news, they made a few coaching announcements. For one, Coach Young will be sticking around, which I think a lot of Dallas fans will be happy about. He too was a coach for Element Mystic back in the day, so the connections with that team continue to grow. But wait, there's more. Dallas took yet another page out of the Eternals book by bringing Aid on board as another assistant. You would have to assume that Rush really liked the job he did on Paris if you wanted Dallas to bring him in. The coaching staff is looking pretty legit. The Dallas Fuel are absolutely killing it this offseason. They recognize that they've been mediocre for way too long and they're taking action. They now have great coaches and a fantastic young core that could still get even better depending on who they sign at main support and main tank. Dallas are winning the offseason and they're doing so in a big way. Let's see how they round out their roster in the coming weeks. Moving on to some news that is a bit more on the grim side, the Shanghai Dragons have officially parted ways with every one of their free agents. That means that Ding, Luffy, Diem, Gaguri, and Dia are all gone. With the exception of Diem to a certain extent, the players they dropped really did not make many significant contributions to the team. They were watching from the sidelines while everybody else who was staying on the team was helping to bring home the #1 record in the league. Shanghai kept all of the pieces that really matter to them the most, so this is by no means a big loss. It does bring a question though as to who they could sign as replacements. Maybe they could add another piece or two that Coach Moon will find a better use for within the team's rotation. Getting a third DPS who could be integrated with Fleta and Lip would be smart, and I think a backup support wouldn't hurt either. As for the players who are looking for new homes, I think most of them at least have a chance to make a new team. Diem in particular shouldn't have an issue. Despite not playing all that much, he looked quite good individually whenever he did make an appearance. His prowess on sniper heroes is still extremely noticeable, and I think he could make for a good option on a team that needs a better sniper. Another guy I see as a shoo-in for the Overwatch League is Dia. He's been hard grinding on Shanghai's academy team where he's truly made a name for himself. In fact, many people have speculated that he already found a new team, which would not surprise me in the slightest. This man has been dominant. The promotion would be well deserved. Not for Luffy and Ding. Both of these guys played pivotal roles on Shanghai's resurgence in Season 2, but they were both left high and dry this year thanks to better fitting talent. but both of them seriously could still have a use, I think. This especially goes for Luffy, who had some decent performances when his name was called for double flex support compositions. I could totally see somebody giving him a chance. Teams like Washington and Toronto are in need of a flex support, and Luffy would likely make for a good budget option. And let's not forget that Ding was one of the deadliest Pharah and Sombra players back in the day, so he might still have something in him that could be useful to a team. Given the sheer amount of double hit scan being played, it's going to be a lot harder for him to find a new team, but it's not impossible given how useful his Sombra could prove to be. And now that leaves me with Gregory, who is probably the one player on here who I don't think has a very good chance of finding a new team at all. I will be brutally honest with you guys. Off-tank is such a competitive position at this level. There are countless elite players, and Gregory's skill set simply doesn't cut it. There's better options out there, so she probably isn't worth using a contract on unless she's a backup. It hurts me to say it, but it's the truth. If this was the final year we had her in the Overwatch League, then it's worth expressing our gratitude towards her. She did the impossible. A female player made the Overwatch League. She is going to forever be a part of this league's history because of that. She is such an influential contributor to this game. Gregory made it clear that gender doesn't matter. Anybody can do this if they have the skills, and I respect her a lot for making it this far because it was probably more difficult for her simply because she's a girl. The internet is weird, man. We all know this. Girl gamers oftentimes have to deal with so much negativity and so many creeps, so good on her for enduring all of that. Take a moment to appreciate what Gregory did because she deserves it. Now for some positive news. Congrats, Outlaws fans. You were able to re-sign Dante. It goes without saying that this is pretty huge for them. He's been the carry of this team ever since he arrived, and losing such a valuable asset would be a major setback. It's quite clear that Houston and the coaching staff want to build around this Western superstar, but right now it's unclear who else they plan to sign. There's a lot of holes that still need to be addressed. They literally need 5 players to build a solid starting lineup still. No offense to Hydration. Getting Dante back is a wonderful start, but this is no time to rest if you're an Outlaws fan. There's a lot of work to do still. If they don't present a good pitch to free agents or make some big trades, then they might be in for another tough season even with the upgraded coaching staff. Maybe the addition of Junkbuck will be enough to influence some free agents to sign with the team. He's a great coach and a descendant of Krusty. Don't let us down, Outlaws. Make some moves. Heading back in the APAC direction, you've got the Seoul Dynasty re-signing Marvel, Fitz, and Creative. Given that deep playoff run they made, it's not entirely surprising to see them all come back. They were all key contributors during that run. Seoul in particular loved playing Marvel all year long. They like how he plays within this team. He's done it for the last 2 years. Looking at Fitz, he came alive in the finals and he's a pretty solid hit scan in general. And how about Creative? He showed a lot of promise despite dealing with the pressure of suddenly being a starter after being on the bench for a majority of this year. In my opinion, all of these guys deserved a second chance because they all have such great potential as players still. Although I really am hoping that Marvel is not forced onto Diva or Zarya anymore. He should either be on Sigma or a main tank hero at all times. But generally speaking, the Dynasty are off to an okay start so far. They brought back everybody they should have except for that main support position. Now it's a matter of making some upgrades. If they want to become a team who showcases more consistent results, then they need to bring in some additional pieces. Another DPS and an off-tank would do wonders, but let's not forget, as I was just saying, main support could be a serious problem. Toby and Slime are both free agents. The threat of both of them finding a new team is quite real. Seoul cannot afford to make any downgrades. Main support was arguably their strongest position last year besides flex DPS. Toby had a killer season, and losing him would be tragic. If Seoul can't bring him back, I really do hope they have a good backup plan in mind, otherwise they'll be looking at a major weakness within their starting lineup. Moving on to the next bit of news, the San Francisco Shock made a few moves to rebuild their broken coaching staff. After doing some work as an analyst during the playoffs, former Atlanta Reign and Team Netherlands coach Gasores was promoted to an assistant coach. What else is there to say besides that this was a smart move? They lost 2 amazing coaches, and Gasores is a fantastic replacement. He's always been a well-respected coach within this community, and it has become very clear to me that his departure was a big reason why the Reign weren't as good this year. This guy will make a difference for sure, but it doesn't stop there. The Shock decided to hire former London Spitfire coach Agape as well. This one I'm a bit less enthusiastic about. He failed to impress as the head coach of London last year, and I don't remember anybody hyping him up while he was the assistant in previous years. Some people will flat out tell you that he's just not a good coach, but if Krusty and the Shock see something in him, then who am I to disagree with their choices? Technically speaking, he does have championship experience, and who knows, maybe he'll improve by learning under Krusty. Transitioning to the Guangzhou Charge, they finally made a decision on who their next head coach is going to be, and it is none other than former San Francisco Shock assistant coach Arachne. In a matter of weeks, 2 former Shock coaches from 2020 have gotten a major promotion. It's a classic example of teams being interested in staff from a championship roster, and in the world of sports, that's a very common occurrence. And given that the other big-name coaches have already found new homes, the Charge getting what's left makes a ton of sense. They have brought in somebody from a winning culture, but more importantly, it's a descendant of Krusty. Many of the former coaches who have worked under him have found success on new teams, so maybe Arachne can do much of the same, especially with high potential players like Krong at his disposal. The Charge desperately needed a shakeup at their coaching position. Hopefully they can take that next step towards becoming a playoff threat with this head coaching change. Next up are a few minor coaching things to talk about. For one, the Gladiators picked up former Guangzhou Charge coach Taidola as a new assistant coach. Given the mixed results the Charge have found throughout the years, I'll let you be the judge on how good he is. Some might argue he didn't do his job all that well, but others might tell you he was being held back on Guangzhou. It'll be interesting to see how he works within Deepay's system. The other minor coaching announcement is the Washington Justice, who picked up former Seoul Dynasty general manager Hakari as a personal coach. For those who don't know, he used to be a coach on Seoul during the disaster that was Season 1. He was the GM ever since then, so it's been a few years since he's done any sort of coaching. I wonder if he still has what it takes. He's sure to be a little bit rusty, but he does have mixed results as a coach. I think that's worth bringing up. On Seoul, it was a disaster, but he was the head coach of Jisoo Busan, I believe, when they won Apex, so there may be a redeeming quality to him. I guess it's only a matter of time until we find out though, huh? And with that being said, that's going to wrap up this episode of the off-season recap. If you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you can keep up with all things Overwatch League news related here on my channel. And don't forget to let me know what you think of all of these things down in the comment section. And if you want to further support me, consider following my Twitter, joining the Discord through the link in the description, or becoming a channel member. And as always, thanks so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate your support. And until next time, this is ATP. Signing out. Peace.